Regardless of which platform you are targeting for your next application, there will be a need at some point to create and customize controls at runtime based on a user's needs or preferences. The grid can be one of the more complex controls to generate at runtime. However, due to the ease of use and simplicity of the DevExpress Silverlight Grid or AgDataGrid, this can be easily accomplished with just a few lines of code. So let's see how it's done. Here I've created a new Silverlight project. Since we need to create the grid at runtime, let's right-click and select View Code. Here I can add the C# code that will be used to create and populate the grid with data when the Silverlight application is launched. I'll first add a reference to the devexpress.agDataGrid namespace. Next, to keep things simple, I'm going to use a short list of data as the data source for the grid. In the main page CS file, I'll create a new product class that'll hold that data. Then within the main class, I'll create a product list and populate it with some sample data. Now let's create a method that will create and bind the grid when called at runtime. I'll call it CreateDataGrid. Here I create and initialize a new grid control. The grid's column auto width property is set to true, so that the columns are automatically stretched to fill the available width of the Silverlight application. I'll specify a margin so that the control is not bordering the browser frame or any other controls that may come before it. The data source property is set to the data returned by the createDataSource function. Finally, this new grid control needs to be added to the children collection of the layout root. If we run the application right now, the grid will still not be displayed. This is because we have all this code that is not once being called when the application is loaded. To fix this, I'll simply call the createDataGrid method we just created in the page's main constructor. And that's it. I save the files and click to run the project. Once the Silverlight application is loaded, you can see the grid created and populated with sample data. All the properties are also in effect, such as the full width, column auto width, and the margin around the grid. The grid, of course, also has all the functionalities of one created in XAML. Thanks for watching, and thank you for choosing DevExpress.